Welcome to the fifth and the final lecture of the course Python Programming for Beginners. In this lecture, we will learn about the files and exception. In this lecture, you will learn how to work with files in Python, and you will also learn how to read and write text files with Python code. The second part of this lecture will give you an introduction about exceptions, what is an exception, and how to handle it in your code. Let's move on to the first part, files. Python provides a file object to manipulate files by default. With this object, you can use many built-in functions and methods to do what you want with files and Python in your system. A file object is not the actual file. It does not contain the data that the file holds. It is an object that holds methods that affect a particular file or directory. It works as an interface to tell the operating system does the actual file manipulation. So let's say the first thing that we can do with the file is opening a file. The open function is a way to create a file object. In Python, the syntax looks like an assignment to an identifier with the return value of the open function. Here, the open function takes the file name and accept mode as the parameters. File name is a string value that contains the name of the file. This is a required argument. The access mode is a string value that determines the mode in which the file has to be opened, read, or write. This is a default argument. The default value is set to reading mode. Here, let me show you an example. Let's say we have here a file. So let's say here I have a test.txt file, and then I want to open this. So I write the text file open test.txt with the reading mode. I put an R here. So then I have this is a file object, and this is the open command with the file name and the accept mode reading. In fact, there are many different accept modes. You can look at the textbook. Here the mode is divided into different purpose and the formats of the file. In terms of purpose, there are file reading, writing, and appending. And in terms of file formats, there are text file and binary files. In this lecture, we will learn about reading and writing modes with the text file format. So I only focus on the text file format. The binary format is an advanced topic which is not common use. I encourage you to figure out yourself if you want. Okay, let's return to the slide here. After we have the object file object here, we have the closing method. The first method I would like to introduce to you, the close method of a file object. First, any unwritten information and close the file object. After closing, you cannot do anything with the file. Python automatically closes a file when the reference object of a file is reassigned to another file. And this is a good practice to use a close method to close a file. So example here we have the object text file, right? Then we can call the close method using the dot and the close and the parenthesis. And you other that you can this is a way how you close a file. After this code you cannot use a text file object anymore. So okay, so let's find out how to read a file in Python. First, before you read a file, you have to open it with reading mode. Then you if you open it successfully, Python provides the method read, readline, and readlines for you to read the content of the file. So let's say the example here. We have the text file, but okay, let's say here I have the full.txt. so you see the full.txt is a text file with this the content in the text file is here. You see this is some text about the Python, and here I would like to open it, full.txt, and with the reading mode. And then after I have the file object, I can read it to the data variable, for example. So I use the read function without parameter. Here you can see the read. This function will read the entire file to the data. So you will see that here the data is a string. It's a string. You can print it out on the screen, and you will see it's more clear. It's print out the content of the string of the file here. You see. So the second method is the same. So we have here, for example, we read the first 10 characters of the file, and you print the data, and you see only the first 10 characters of the file here is printed on the screen. Okay. Sometimes you want to read the text file line by line in order to pass the input. Python provides the readline method. It will read a single line which answers a new line character. So for example, here you have the text file, and then you read the file. You use a readline method, readline, and you have the data here is just the single line you see here, and the new line character at the end of the line. So this is the first line, right? And you can also read all the line at once and return the first list, return as a list of strings using the readlines method. So here instead of readline, you have the readlines method. So the data here is a list of string. So you hear the square bracket is a list of string, comma separated here. You see. Okay, that is how you read a file. So how to write a file? Similar to reading a file, you have to create a file object to a physical file in your system. Before writing data to a file, you have to open it with writing mode. So here, so after you open it, the Python provides the method write to write the content of string to the file and return the number of characters have been written. So let's say I have an example here. I want to write a new file, text file, equal to open with a test file, for example, .txt. with the writing mode, the W. So you want to write something like text write. So for example, here I want to write Python is fun. Okay, and then I execute it. The number here is a number of character here of the string I write here. And please note that so after you write the file, you have to close it in order to actual write the file into the file system. So you can see the file here is a test.txt. You can see it here, the test.txt, the file here. Okay, and you can view it, test.txt, and this is a Python is fun, right? It's a string that we write here. Okay, so please note here that the object to be written must be a string. So here it must be string. That means the object, the other types of objects must be converted to a string before writing. Another thing you should remember is that if you don't close the file, your data may not actually written and you may lose the data. So please always remember to call the close method after writing, after you finish the work with the file object.